What's next for the Cincinnati Bearcats? Scott Satterfield has a lot of work to do with the Bearcats and in the Big 12, and I think that he's realized a couple things that should help this group improve in 2024. We take a look at the top 10 returning players for the Bearcats this year and take a look at what should we expect from this team in the upcoming season. Now, it's been a very interesting year already for Cincinnati. It's been full of some concerns, especially for Dontay Corleone. Now, things are headed in the right direction. Obviously, he had his health concerns. We're not going to dive into that. We will leave him to figure those things out on his own. Hopefully, he's able to play. If he does play, Dontay Corleone is one of the best defensive tackles, best defensive linemen in college football. He is an absolute disruptive force, an absolute unit. And the fact that he's still in Cincinnati says a lot about his loyalty to this team. And this speaks to the staff's ability to keep him there. He could have gone probably anywhere in the country and played anywhere thanks to the transfer portal, but he came back. Now, obviously, he's dealing with his health issues, but it sounds like he's going to play this year. Regardless if he plays or not, he is the best player on this team. He is someone who's an absolute force. He's not going to have the best statistics of anybody on this team, but that's the nature of the position, as well as how successful he's been. He is someone that commands a lot of extra attention. When you're as good as he is and people watch film, you know exactly what he's capable of doing. He brings good power, has good explosiveness, and that means that offensive linemen are going to say, yeah, we're not going to let you beat us. We're sending two guys there. We're going to pip you as much as we can. We're going to send extra help your way, and we're going to force everyone around you to try and beat us. Corleone is still going to get his. He's still going to find ways to make plays. But if someone else can step up, that's going to take a lot of pressure off of him. It's going to require teams to not put as much help his way. And that's going to where you're going to see his box score fill up a little bit more. He is someone who I hope he's able to play, has good size, has everything you need in a defensive tackle to be a force. And if he is on the field, Cincinnati is going to have an absolute stud at the position. Everyone knows that the offense needs to take a step forward in 2024, but the passing attack is probably the group that needs to elevate the most. That being said, they have plenty of options. Xavier Henderson pretty much flew under the radar for a guy who had almost 800 yards on 58 catches. This is someone who probably deserves more love than he's getting, but that's what happens when you have a team that struggles as much as Cincinnati did. Finding ways to get him the football should be a big priority for the Bearcats this year. He's a good player who came to Cincinnati from the transfer portal, someone who has good size at 6'3", 205 pounds. I think that he is going to have a good year. It's just a matter of who's going to get him the football, who's going to play quarterback. Because if they find balance on offense, this is a team that could surprise people in the Big 12. This rushing attack was surprising last year. This is a group that averaged more yards per game than Army did. They finished sixth in the country in running the football, and I knew that Corey Kiner had the talent to be a special back, and he finally got to see that in 2023. Over 1,000 yards and 5 touchdowns on the ground. Kiner is back for another year, another transfer that has done a lot of good things. I'm surprised that he's still here, but he is back with the Bearcats, and he is someone who is going to be a special talent. Even with the offensive struggles, this is a group that thrived running the football. And if they can do that again, this offense should be in good hands. And it's just going to come down to if the passing attack can do its part. Corey Kiner is a physical runner who is tough to take down because he keeps churning his legs. And this is a team that, like I said, if they can find balance, this offense is going to be in good hands. Now, we mentioned the defensive line earlier. If Dontay Corleone is playing, that's great. But that being said, they need to find someone who can step up and take some attention away from him. Jared Bartlett comes in from West Virginia and could be that guy. The staff really likes what they got in him. They think they found a gem with his talent. 50 tackles, 6 tackles for loss, and 4 sacks last year. He is someone who could take a big step forward for this defense, a defense that needs to get better as a whole. And getting to the quarterback as well as being disruptive in the run game is one way to do that. Bartlett is going to be a fun player to watch. He's a special talent. And like I said, Corleone is going to do a lot of good work if he's healthy and on the field. That's going to leave a lot of one-on-one opportunities for Bartlett to get on the edge and face the tackle and do his part to make this defense better. Part of the success offensively was the offensive line's ability to get pushed to run the football. Luke Kandra is one of those guys, a player who kind of came out of nowhere last year. And, well, not to Cincinnati fans, but came out of nowhere for most of the Big 12 and college football and had a very successful season. 6'4", 323 pounds. So he has plenty of weight to utilize, plenty of size to use to move guys and move players out of their gaps and open things up for the rushing attack. Now, the offensive line does need to find a couple of pieces to step up, but Kandra is going to be one of those guys that helps them get acclimated and get ready for the season. Quarterback position obviously plays a huge role for Cincinnati. Brendan Sorsby comes in from Indiana and could be a really fun player to watch for Cincinnati. He gives them more of a passing threat than we've seen in the last couple of years, or I should say last year specifically. And a group that finished 89th needs to find some balance. They can run the ball really well. We've seen that, but they need to find a way to get the ball to their playmakers. We talked about Xavier Henderson. Sorsby should have no problem finding him downfield, and it's going to be fun to see what he's capable of doing. You had 1,500 yards last year and 15 touchdowns from him. He also can run the football. This is someone who has the ability to make moves with his legs, and it's going to be fun to see how the staff and Satterfield utilize him in this offense. Linebacker has been such a fun position to watch for Cincinnati over the last few years, and I think one of the more slept on people from the Fickle era as well as last year is Jack Dingle, 6'4", 240 pounds, someone who's going to have a more prominent role in the defense this year. 53 tackles, 5 tackles for loss, 2 fumble recoveries. I think that he's a really special player, someone who doesn't get the love that he deserves, and someone who is ready to take a step forward. Again, this defense needs to take a step forward, needs to be better than it was last year, because if they're not, the offense just doesn't have the firepower to outscore everyone on every single game. But this is a defense that has plenty of talent to make things happen, and Dingle is going to be one of the leaders of that group. Now, we talked about the concerns about the passing attack, but they have plenty of talent coming back as well, coming in from the transfer portal. Tony Johnson comes in from FAU after a year in which he had 411 yards on just 37 catches and 4 touchdowns. I think that he is a good complement to Xavier Henderson, someone who could be more that short to intermediate guy and open things up for him. But Johnson is someone who could take a step forward. Again, this is a passing attack that needs to get better. And part of that is having the right guys in place to make that happen. Part of it is getting players in position to make plays. And Tony Johnson is one of those guys that can do that. He is someone who's really fun to watch at FAU, and now he'll play a more prominent role with his new team. Cincinnati has also had some really fun secondaries over the last few years. And maybe they'll have that this year. Logan Wilson is a fun player for this team, someone who's a playmaker, knows how to create turnovers, and could help this defense tremendously. Again, a defense that needs to take a step forward, needs people that are going to step up and make plays. Logan Wilson is one of those guys. 62 tackles last year, 2 forced fumbles, 1 interception. He's a natural playmaker, has good size for the position, and someone who is ready to help this team win more football games. Cincinnati has plenty of talent to make life interesting in the Big 12 and again surprise a lot of people. There are just certain things that need to happen and certain players that need to step up. And Logan Wilson could be one of those guys that helps them in that regard. Another safety is Mekhi Miller, 6'1", 200 pounds, had 59 tackles, 2 interceptions last year. Another guy that, again, I like this secondary. I think they have some solid pieces. It's just a matter of what does that ceiling look like. This was of the defense. I think that defending the pass was the strength of this team. And part of that is them getting to the quarterback and the defensive line, which they should be doing a lot better this year. And part of that is the secondary. The secondary returns a couple of big pieces and a couple of consistent pieces. And Mekhi Miller will be part of that group as well. He'll be someone that will contribute. And it's just a matter of how high can this group raise their ceiling so that they're more successful than they were last year. I think that Scott Satterfield has a lot of work to do. He's admitted that he tried to just keep doing what Fickle did instead of doing his own thing. This year, he plans on doing his own thing. So we will see what that means, what that looks like. It's going to be tough to win football games in the Big 12, but because the competition is so close, it's also going to be easy to surprise people. I think Cincinnati has the talent to be a really interesting team, but you have to find ways to steal some wins potentially. And part of that is getting guys to elevate their game and play above expectations. And if they can do that, it is going to be a really fun year. But if not, we're going to see more of the same as what we saw in 2023.